the DJ.
Yo, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is 3 Men in a Box with Matt Grissom, our NCAAF college football show for December 1st, Friday. Yes, we turned the page, turned the calendar. 24 days till Christmas Eve, 25 to Christmas, and of course, just 31 days left in 2023. 32 days till the Final Four in college football on New Year's Day this year. Shout out to the gentleman behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis. Thank you so much for all you do. And of course, shout out to our new proud sponsor and partnership, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded this app, please run over to Google Play or wherever you download the app. It's free. Start syncing your bets, following your ROI, tracking your wagers. Can you imagine? This is not entertainment, guys, even though, I can be funny at some point. But this is about maybe making a second stream of income. Maybe this is to decorate the halls, a little flash cash for the upcoming Christmas season. And if you're looking for that, send an email to affiliates at wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Zach, Travis, the rest of that team and community will take good care of you there. So without further ado, fresh off an upset win in college hoops, the Arkansas himself, Razorbacks taking down the Dukies, Matt Grissom.
And in true fashion, I don't have a single thing of Arkansas on me. It's all Oregon today. So Woo Pig got the win. 20,400 and some odd people were there. And of course they stormed the court as security was saying, please stay off the court. It didn't work, but it was a best experience. I was there when Michael Qualls dunked against Kentucky to win at the buzzer, and it wasn't as loud as it was versus Duke. I mean, that was hands down the best experience I've ever had at Bud Walton.
Well, you're a lot younger than myself, Matt, and I was attracted to Arkansas way back in the day with Nolan Richardson and 40 Minutes of Hell, and it was just so fun to watch that team. They would get in your grill, and there was no easy baskets, and when they got a rebound, they were just amazing to watch in transition. And that's how I was introduced to Arkansas. And I've still been a big fan. Had a great run 2 years ago, till the Dukies, actually. Wasn't it the Dukies that knocked you out 2 years ago?
Duke, yes, 2 years ago, Duke beat us, I think like 82 to 69 or something, 71. Yeah, we don't like Duke. I mean, it's a pretty big rivalry going back, I guess, to 94, beating them in the national championship. But yeah, it was fun. Any chance you get to take down a blue blood, you gotta let that ride for the week.
Well, I know this is a college football show, and we're going to get to tonight's action. Obviously, talk about the Oregon Ducks, as they are 9.5-point favorites against the Washington Huskies. And we got a bunch of games tomorrow as well. I just got to add to the college hoops. My UConn Huskies winners of 13 in a row, going back to their magical 6-0 run in the tourney last year, traveled to Kansas tonight. 6-0 versus 5-1. I was a little surprised with the true opening number of Kansas -1.5. It's gotten pushed to 3.5. I think it's a great test for both teams. UConn then plays North Carolina, that just put up 100 against Tennessee. Then they got Arkansas playing Pine Bluff. Then they play Gonzaga before they get into the Big East regular season schedule. Do you have any thoughts on Kansas UConn tonight?
I haven't seen a UConn game yet. How are they down low? Because I think Hunter Dickinson is a major problem. He can just body anybody down low. So I know UConn's typically good at the guard position on the perimeter, but I think down low in the paint is where it's going to count. But I'm kind of inclined to take your Huskies plus 3.5 right now.
We are not officially 100%. We do, we don't have Sonogo this year, but we got some beef down there. We got some length. We got some athleticism. We're I don't want to say we're guard heavy. We lost a sniper now playing in the NBA. But I think he's real well-rounded this year. And they talked to Coach Hurley before the season. And the funny thing was last year, he was like, you better get us now. You better get us now. They started the year like 6, 7, 8-0. Then they lost 4 out of 5 in conference play. Then they got hot again. I think they're more well-rounded. Can they repeat? It's too hard to repeat, but can they make a deep run? I think they can. I think it's a good test. I, too, am worried about Dickerson, and I'm worried about the game in Kansas. It's not on a neutral field, a neutral court. I thought this game, I honestly, in my head, thought Kansas would be more 3.5, 4 opening, and they went the other way. So they were looking for the Kansas money. They have gotten it. Again, the true number was 1.5. It's up to 3, 3.5. So go Huskies. But with that said, it'll be a great game to watch. Let's get to some college football. How'd you do last week?
I did pretty good. I don't have my record pulled up in front of me. As you know, I was saying I played too hard. I went to the Duke game and got behind on doing all of our betting previews and score projections. So I've been working on that. I hadn't had a chance to run my numbers, but I think on the year, I can tell you in 1 second, because I track all my bets at ncaainsiders.com. Go check out that. I believe in full transparency. I'm up 11.4 units on the season. Looks like I went last week. I went about 11-4, so pretty solid. Unfortunately, we did Thanksgiving at our cabin out in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas with satellite internet, pulling about 5 gigs, and they had Dish, who is in cahoots with Fox right now, or in a battle with Fox. So I didn't get to see any games that were on Fox, but yeah, we made it work and cashed some tickets.
Well, let's go right to the headliner tonight. Oregon and Washington in August. ECSI gave out Washington to win the Pac-12. We also told everyone to take a flyer on them to shock the world and get to the Final Four. Later on during the year, we gave out Bo Nix, Heisman Trophy winner, at 7-1. He is now the current favorite, with Jaden Daniels as the only possible person to beat him. Oregon, Washington. About a month back, Washington defeats them in a great game, back and forth game. Oregon had 2 possessions with a chance to win the game and failed in both of them. You and I talked backstage. My true number was 8.5 with a 67.5, up to 9.5 at Circa with a 66. It seems like an inflated number. It seems like the whole world has already got Oregon winning the Pac-12, and on Sunday, their name will be announced probably as the number 3 team in the country, most likely maybe a game against Michigan if everything goes the way most people think. Give us your thoughts on this game.
Man, as a Oregon fan, obviously here, with betting interest in them already, I took them 14-1 to win the national championship about a month ago. 10-1 again, and of course, Bo Nix, I got it 14-1. I think I've talked about that, but as of right now, my number is 7 on this. The projections have Oregon winning by 8.6. So I think anything north of 9, 9.5, if that gets to 10, and it may have at some point or another, I think you've got to look at Washington. And as much as I hate to say it, we talked backstage about we're going to have family in this evening for dinner, and I'm going to be rooting for Oregon. Obviously, that's why I'm decked out in their colors. But rooting for Washington to cover, this is still a solid team. I mean, they're 12-0. They have Penix, who is a very good quarterback. He may be a little banged up right now. We'll see. But Adunze, the wide receiving core is still scary. I think Oregon did leave a lot of points on the board their last matchup, and I think Dan Lanning is going to learn from that and maybe even play a little more conservatively. But at the end of the day, he said numerous times that he's going to play his game, and their game is aggressive. So I don't know. I think Washington has a chance to backdoor this thing, but if Oregon gets up early, I may try to in-game Washington, like I said, like plus 20, 20.5. Like if Oregon scores, forces a 3-and-out for Washington, gets the ball again, I wouldn't be surprised if that line gets up there. So just keep an eye on it. I think this is the perfect game to live bet.
I think you're going to see a lot of people live betting that. As we talk backstage, I use the reverse psychology instead of laying the 9.5. Now, maybe Washington wins the toss. They come down and score. Oregon 3-and-out. Washington comes down, kicks a field goal, up 10-0. You can go back in now, still in the first quarter. Oregon down 10-0. You don't have to worry about covering the 10 now, just winning the game and get that around even or plus money there. The total is 66.5. I looked at some team totals. The Oregon team total has dropped to 37.5 in some spots, 38.5 in others. And here's the tantalizer if you like Washington. Their team totals at 27.5. Does that entice you if you like Washington at all to say, well, I don't care if they win or they cover, just get to 28 or better?
Yeah, I mean, if you like Washington, I would take the team total for sure. They're number 5 in offensive EPA. Yes, Oregon's defense is 8th, but we've seen this game before, and Washington had no problem scoring against the really good Oregon defense. So, yeah, I mean, the Huskies team total, I'm so nervous as someone who has an Oregon ticket, because I feel like so much of the country has already put Oregon in the Final Four. And they, you look at the other conference tournaments, this isn't an Iowa. I mean, this is a tough competition right here. So I don't know. The more that I think about it, I think you're stupid not to have some piece of Washington, whether you in-game it, take the team total, or take the 9.5. I mean, this Washington team is going to be ready to play. Kalen DeBoer is a very good coach. Penix is a very competent quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if Washington does keep this close in a high-scoring game.
I have to ask you a question. I haven't pulled up the actual money line. I have to assume that it's kind of large, and you know how my brain works. So I'm just going to pull this up. Give me 1 second here, so I have my facts straight. Going into the Circa app as we speak, and Oregon's minus 345. Washington, Benson said as of right now before kickoff, you're letting that ride. You have no Washington on the other side just in case?
I do not. I truly believe Oregon wins this game. It's so hard to beat a team, and you don't get this scenario very often. But you look at, the most recent ones I can think of are Georgia, Alabama. I mean, SEC championship, and then you play them again in the national championship. You don't get the same winner. And I think in this one, like I said earlier, Dan Lanning knows that he left points on the board. They outperformed Washington in that game, but they lost. So I don't think they lose again. That being said, you may have talked me into at least pseudo hedging it by either in gaming Washington or just taking them, with team total, something like that.
There is another game, Conference USA, New Mexico State and Liberty. I had a 10.5 on the Liberty side with a 54, now 10.5 with a 57. Money coming in on the over. Any leans, any plays, or what's your thoughts on the Conference USA Championship?
So I feel like a lot of people may correlate this. I think a parlay for the money line favorites is going to be like minus 150. That would probably be what a lot of the public would do, just because I'm friends with a lot of public bettors that they've already said that that's what they're doing. That being said, I think Liberty probably covers this game. New Mexico State, they just upset Auburn, which probably was a look ahead spot for the Tigers, but I don't know. My power ratings actually have this game right at 10. I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico stays within the number, but I think at the end of the day, if Jamie Chadwell has his team ready to play, they'll be able to put it on New Mexico State.
Saturday, we got a handful, and talk about inflated numbers here. Oklahoma State and Texas. The true opening number was 13.5 with a 55. It's as high as 15.5 right now at the Circa. It is 14.5 with a 55.5. Now the thought process very simply is if the favorites win, if Georgia beats Alabama, if Michigan beats Iowa, the winner of the Pac-12 is in. And now you have an undefeated Florida Florida State, a 1.5 point favorite against Louisville. If they happen to lose with a nice win by Texas, since Ohio State is out, Texas would move in. Thoughts on Oklahoma State and Texas?
I thought the number seemed high. I looked at my power ratings. It was 18.5. Projections have Texas winning by 12.7. So that's a pretty big discrepancy between our projections and the number. I'm going to stay away from it. I did bet the over 54.5. I think both teams are going to be able to score. I just feel like Texas is on a mission right now. I think Oklahoma, that game was a wake-up call. They've been playing really well. Their defense, number 1 in third down conversion stops, number 5 in rush yards allowed, number 6 in defensive EPA. I think Oklahoma is just going to be a little bit outmatched in this one, but that's a big number, especially in a game that means a lot. Oklahoma State, they're not going to have the chance to play Texas when they move to the SEC. They would probably love to knock them off one more time before they move on. So I'm going to treat this like a rivalry game, even though it's really not. I think Oklahoma State probably stays within that 15.5 number, but I don't want any part in trying to bet against Texas right now.
I'm saving the best for last. Michigan, Iowa, 23 with a 35.5. Now bet down to 21.5 with a 35. If you like Iowa, I'm almost would tell you just take their team total over. I saw earlier in the week their first half team total was minus a hook. So if you kicked a field goal or got a safety, you won. And the same in the second half. Jim Harbaugh back from suspension. The team is 6-0 without him on the sideline. Win and in. Obviously, the assumption, of course, is they're going to win. Do they cover, which is now a 21.5, Matt?
So their last three matchups, Michigan won 27-14, 42-3, 10-3. I mean, statistically, you throw out the 42-3, Iowa somewhat plays them closely. That's a big spread. It kind of depends on, does Harbaugh want to make a statement with his return? I think he does. I think Michigan, if they get going, I feel like Michigan will just pour it on them if they have the opportunity, just to reiterate the fact that they are the best team in the country. And, having Harbaugh back, it's also been advantageous for the spread. I know earlier on, I think they were 0-3 against the spread without him, and then he came back and started covering games. That being said, this is a big number in a game that means a lot for only one team in this scenario. I don't know. Iowa's defense, they're salty. JJ McCarthy hasn't been the greatest at times. Corum will probably have some success running the ball, but I think JJ McCarthy could be susceptible to turn the ball over. And if you let Iowa get in scoring position, statistically speaking, they put points on the board. They're fourth in red zone conversion, or on defense. Sorry, but yeah, I think this is going to be like a 30-6 type game where you want to bet on Iowa to get those field goals. We'll see, but Deacon Hill, he may throw 5 interceptions. You never know, but. Right now, I'm just riding out that Michigan to make the college football playoff ticket, and I really don't want any part of this. I did bet Corum under 93.5 yards. I think if they do go up, you're going to see them maybe rest Corum. I feel like every post-game interview, he's got a bloody nose. So they may just say, hey, take a break. And I think 7 out of 10 games, he has not crossed the 100-yard mark. So this Iowa defense, like I said, it's a little salty. So I'd take the under on his prop. And then I also bet under 105.5 yards for Deacon Hill. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball very much against this Michigan defense.
Louisville and Florida State, the true number Florida State minus 3.5 with a 51. Now 2 at Circa with a 47. It's as low as 1 at Caesars, New Jersey, at Bet Online, at FanDuel in Pennsylvania, 1.5. I think the whole world is just hoping Florida State loses. Obviously, no Jordan Travis. They're 2-0 without Jordan Travis. I don't think they want to see Florida State in the Final Four. If they happen to win, the committee's got a tough decision. Thoughts on Louisville? The whole world's on them. Are you on the Louisville side, or are you leaning towards the Seminoles here?
I love the under. I think both defenses are pretty good. You've got 19th ranked Louisville defensive EPA versus 13th ranked Florida State. So I think it's going to be lower scoring. The latest I've seen, Norvell said Rodemaker is practicing limited spots, but Brock Glenn has gotten all the live work. I discounted Florida State 30% in production when it came to our projections. I don't think their backups are very good. Rodemaker didn't look good against Florida. They were still wildly able to cover that game. But now you're talking about a third-string quarterback playing in an ACC championship game that means a lot for one team. I feel like I keep saying it. It means a lot for one team, not so much for the other team. Louisville was probably in a bad spot last weekend. I think they're in a really good spot this weekend, being a dog. I made this Louisville -4 or +4, but again, that's without the adjustment to my power ratings on Jordan Travis being out. Louisville in the projections, though, are a projected winner by 0.3 points. So I think Louisville wins this game. I hope they do the nation a favor and just upset Florida State so we can push them out and let the better teams be in. because this is not the most deserving. It's the best. I want to see the 4 best teams.
Same here. So speaking of that, this next game will decide so much because 2 years ago, an undefeated Georgia team played Alabama, a one-loss Alabama team. A little different though scenario because Georgia knew it didn't matter if they won or lost, they would still be in the Final Four. Alabama beat them, and then both teams made it to the Final Four. This year, a little trickier. Georgia, winners of 30 in a row. They are two-time defending champs. A line that we had initially at 4.5 with a 56, now 5 with a 55. I had seen it as high as 5.5, 6 earlier this week. Thoughts on Georgia, Alabama?
My number was 3, and projections have Georgia winning by 4.5. That's both within this number of Alabama. If you could get 7, I'd feel a lot better about it. But, I mean, still, over a field goal, Nick Saban, they had a wake-up call last week. I really thought they were going to lose that game. Probably should have if Hugh Freeze rushes more than, 2 guys. I don't know. I bet the under or the over in this one. That's really the only thing I love. I think both teams are going to score well into the high 20s, low 30s. I think it's 54.5 is what I got. But I don't know. I hope Georgia just takes care of business and puts Alabama out of their misery. Jalen Milrose played a lot better here lately. But when you talk about the 4 best teams, I don't think Alabama's in that list. Now, if they beat Georgia, I could say the same thing for Georgia. I don't know if a 12-1 Georgia team, look at their schedule. I mean, who have they beaten? Kentucky, Tennessee, who kind of fell off at the end of the season. I don't think at that point Georgia at 12-1 is deserving. Now, obviously, you've got to put Alabama in there, but now I'm hearing talks that they're going to try to put Georgia and Alabama in if Bama wins in a close one. I just don't think Georgia would deserve it.
Well, that was my next question to you. You know, I can say the same. Who has Michigan played? They got 1 win on their schedule against Ohio State. Who has Ohio State played? They were 1 play away from losing in Notre Dame. Both teams beat Penn State. Texas has that 1 big win. That was in Tuscaloosa. That was my question to you, Matt. Are we going to give justification on 30 wins in a row, 2-time national champs? I can't see them, if they lose in a close game, falling 4 spots and out of the top 4.
Yeah, but that's where you've got to look at it. It's this year. I mean, I get what they've done, but on the flip side, this is why I hate preseason rankings, because you've basically had to keep Georgia at the top all season long when really they've probably not played like the best team in the country. But because of their lineage of their last 3 seasons, they kind of have to be there. But I don't know. I think the SEC is wildly overrated this year. And I mean, I will bet against Alabama or Georgia in that first game of the playoff, whichever team makes it. I think there's better teams in the country than Georgia at 12-0 or 13-0 or Alabama at 12-1.
If I asked you, would you want a 1-loss Georgia team in the Final Four or an undefeated Florida State, no Jordan Travis, in the Final Four, what would you say?
Georgia.
I know you have a show coming up, but we can't let you leave without a semi 6-pack. Or what are your picks for this weekend, sir?
Hang on, I'll get them pulled up. I kind of went a little odd here. So I usually don't play props. I told you those 2. I took Georgia's team total over 30.5. I think they'll be able to put up points against Alabama. I took the Georgia-Bama over 54.5. I took the Oklahoma State, Texas over 54.5. Florida State, Louisville under 48.5. I've got Louisville plus 4.5. I laid a lot of juice minus 175 to get that, but I don't see how this isn't at least a 20-24 type game. And then I parlayed just all chalk Michigan, Oregon, Georgia money line at even money.
Georgia team total over. You said over in that game, and then what was the next over?
Oklahoma State, Texas over 54.5.
Okay. And then the Florida State under.
Florida
Okay.
State, Louisville under. Yeah.
And then Louisville with the points. And then the 3-team parlay money line, you said Michigan, Oregon, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
All right. And that's even. All right. The scroll has been going the whole time. Next week we will be off. I shouldn't say that. Friday we will be off. We will be at Radio Row for the Army Navy game. Myself, Pepe, and Sports Map Radio. We might be able to bring you in for some talk earlier in the week. But the scroll has been going the whole time. Quentin is at work. You are missed, Quentin. Hope all is well. Hope you watched the show. But Matt, tell them where they can find all your work.
Follow us at NCAA Insiders, and then you can follow me at Grissom on X. And then, like I said, check out NCAAinsiders.com. I post all of our betting previews, score projections. I thank the guys that they nerd out for me, and we have spreadsheets on spreadsheets with every single statistic you can think of. So they put a lot of time into that, and then I churn out the graphics, and all 10 matchups will be covered with score projections and EPA information. So check out NCAA Insiders. A little bit after our show, I'll post those on there, as well as all of our bets that's tracked in a spreadsheet.
If you're not following, please go follow him at Grissom on X, at the NCAA Insiders, Quentin Mills, at Q Millie, and the Notebook Wager 1. At 5 o'clock, myself and Ron will be back for the closing bell, doing a final show of the week, talking some NCAA and NFL. But until then, everyone have a great, great afternoon, and we will see you soon.